Let's get you ready for the Indigo Disk. In this video, we'll go over 5 important tasks that you absolutely need to do to ensure you have the best experience in the upcoming DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. The Indigo Disk is only days away, which probably means the era of Scarlet and Violet will soon be reaching its conclusion. So let's make sure your last experience is also your best. The absolute first thing you need to do is make sure you have the right Pokemon to take on the difficult trainers of the BB League. We've learned that the BB League Elite Four has certain types that they like to specialize in, just like all the other Elite Fours. Drayton's team will be comprised of Dragon Pokemon, Lacey's team will be Fairy type, Crispin will obviously be Fire, and Amaris will be focusing on Steel. So having Pokemon that can fit multiple of these types would be a great plan. I would recommend Pokemon such as Mamoswine and Tinkaton in order to get you through Drayton. Try to focus on Ice and Fairy types here in order to have the easiest experience. For Lacey, we'll need to focus on some Poison or Steel type Pokemon, so options such as Toxapex or Clodsire would be great for this battle. For Crispin, we can just focus on Pokemon such as Wishcash or Swampert. Now, you won't be able to prepare Swampert until you get your hands on the DLC, but he's definitely still a solid option if you don't want to go for Wishcash. And last, we have Amaris. Using ground type Pokemon such as Clodsire and Swampert that I mentioned before will be great options for the Steel type, but honestly, any ground types will be great for this battle. Going into my second tip that goes hand in hand with these battles is making sure you have a team that is leveled up enough. These battles are not going to be easy, so making sure you get your team up to like the mid-70s is probably a safe bet. Now, we don't have the exact levels of the BB League, but based on what we saw in the Teal Mask, we can kind of estimate that the levels of the league are going to be in that range. So consider maybe doing some raids to get a bunch of experience candies over the next couple of days. Make sure to prepare your team with items as well. Since these battles will be a lot tougher, this is a great time to visit Delibird Presence in Mesagoza and grab some different items. Try to mix and match different items and see what works best for you. Tip number 3 is to make sure you stock up on Pokeballs. Absolutely grab as many Pokeballs as you can. If you want to experience all that this game has to offer, including the vast amount of legendaries making their return, then having a ridiculous amount of Pokeballs seems like a great idea. While you're in Mesagoza, make sure to pick up a bunch. Or alternatively, you could pop into Peachy's in Matsui Town, if you're brave enough, if you know what I mean. With this tip, it's also important to train up a Pokemon who will be ideal for catching all of those legendaries with. Getting a Pokemon who has a variety of status and damaging moves is a great idea. Personally, I'll be using a Breloom since he's one of my favorite Pokemon, so I'll be using moves such as Stun Spore, Drain Punch, False Swipe, and Seed Bomb. You can also use a similar setup with Gallade and get moves such as False Swipe, Psycho Cut, Thunder Wave, and Drain Punch. You can also swap out Hypnosis if you prefer. Or if you want to be fancy, you could go for Iron Valiant, who isn't as good for catching, but definitely more fun to use. Next up, you gotta make sure you finish the story of the Teal Mask. The story of the Indigo Disk will not be playable until you have done all the story elements from the Teal Mask, since the upcoming DLC is a continuation of the story that we got in the first DLC. You don't want to be scrambling around on launch day trying to make sure you finish up the Teal Mask story, so do it ahead of time. And for my last tip is to make sure you catch all of the Pokemon in the Paldea Pokedex. Doing this will give you access to the Shiny Charm, and for Shiny Hunters like me who so badly want to get Shiny starters, it'll be important to raise your odds as much as possible. This does not include catching all the Pokemon in the Kitakami Dex, as doing that will give you a different reward. Doing all 5 of these tips will make sure you have the most fun in the upcoming DLC. We've got a bunch of surprises coming our way and we're only days away. Comment below what you're most excited to do when the DLC drops on December 14th. I'm Chris Tepic and I'll catch you guys in the next one.